Hey, tonight we're heading back to the Wild West of the 1800s, where dust storms ruled the plains and cowboy life was nothing like those shiny Hollywood adventures. We're diving into the real deal, riding horses from dawn till dusk with just your horse, some smarts, and sheer stubbornness to stay alive. Oh, and if you're digging these stories, a like or subscribe would be awesome. Also, I'm curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment with your location and the time there. Now, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and get comfy as we time travel together. Congrats! You just woke up in the 1870s Wild West. The cool morning air hits your skin as you squint at the pale first light of dawn. You're lying on a simple bed laid out on hard dirt. Your back aches from another night sleeping under the stars. The itchy wool blanket beneath you isn't helping, and the oilcloth you wrapped your stuff in last night feels stiff and cold. Around you, shapes start stirring your cowboy buddies, waking up for a long day on the trail. Your muscles complain as you sit up, every inch remembering the 14 hours you spent in the saddle yesterday. Your legs are stiff from years of horseback riding, and your hands are cracked and toughened from rope burns, weather, and endless work. You've been on this cattle drive for 3 weeks, herding 2,000 longhorn cows north, from Texas to the railhead in Abilene, Kansas. 3 weeks to go, if the weather holds and the herd stays calm. The smell of brewing coffee promises to fully wake you up. Cookie, the camp cook, is busy at the chuck wagon, lighting fires and prepping breakfast. That guy might be the grumpiest you've ever met, but right now, the rich aroma of coffee boiling in a big metal pot makes him look like an angel sent from heaven. Your mouth waters thinking about that hot cup melting away the seemingly permanent dust stuck in your throat. Rise and shine, boys, the trail boss calls out, voice hoarse from years of yelling over wind and cattle. The sun's coming up and those cows aren't moving themselves. You run a hand through your hair, feeling the grime and grease built up from days without a wash. The bandana loosely tied around your neck will soon be pulled up over your nose and mouth to keep out the dust. Your Stetson hat, sun and rain beaten, still holds its shape, resting beside your bedroll. Those wide brims aren't just for show. They're the difference between keeping your skin on your face or peeling it off under the brutal desert sun. Around the camp, 15 other cowboys fold blankets, put on boots, and head toward the coffee pot. They're tough men from all walks of life, former slaves from the South, Mexican priests who taught American cowboys most of what they know, European immigrants and chasing luck, and local boys raised in the saddle. Despite their differences, they're all just cowboys on the payroll, facing the same dangers and sharing the same miserable conditions. You grab your boots and give them a good shake before slipping them on. It's a habit born of necessity. Scorpions and spiders love the warm, dark interiors of cowboy boots. You learned long ago a little shake can save you from painful stings or bites. The tough leather fits your feet like a glove after months of wear. Narrow toes and high heels are specially designed for riding. Those heels aren't just for style, they keep your feet hooked on the stirrups. Breakfast in 5 hours, Cookie announces, his voice booming across the camp. Want hot food? Better be there before it's gone. No one needs to be told twice. You tuck your sleeping bag under your arm and head to the chuck wagon. Joining the line. Those high heels, not just for show, they keep your feet steady on the stirrups while you ride. Breakfast in 5 hours. Cookie. Your voice booms across the camp. Want some hot food? Better get here before it's gone. Nobody likes a second reminder. You tuck your sleeping bag under your arm and head to the food wagon, blending into the breakfast line. The wagon itself is quite the sight, a military horse cart tricked out, with a big box on the back loaded with food, cooking gear, and even some basic medical stuff. Charles Goodnight invented this mobile kitchen a decade ago, and it totally changed life on the trail. Before these wagons, cowboys had to make do with whatever they could stash in their saddlebags. Cookie slaps a metal plate into your hand, piled high with beans and bacon. Before wagons showed up, cowboys had to make do with whatever they could stash in their saddlebags. Cookie would smack a metal plate into your hand, piled high with beans and bacon. A metal plate in your hand, loaded with beans and bacon. Yep, the same meal you had yesterday, the day before, and probably the day after. But hot food is hot food, and you'll be grateful for that. You grab the plate and a tin cup of coffee, then hunt for a seat. The ground still cool beneath you while eating. You watch the sky brighten in the east. Today's gonna be another scorcher. You can feel it in the air. The good news, no clouds on the horizon. Rain sounds great after days of dust and heat. But a prairie storm is every cowboy's nightmare. Lightning spooks the herd faster than anything else. And if they stampede, you're in for hours of dangerous riding to get things under control if you're lucky. Yeah, you've seen what 2,000 scared longhorn cattle can do to a man caught in their path. The memory of your buddy Jackson getting trampled 2 years ago when his horse stumbled during a nighttime stampede still twists your gut. Time to stop daydreaming. Diego's voice, one of the lieutenants, pulls you back. His dark eyes gleam with excitement under a wide-brimmed hat. Boss says we roll in 10 minutes. You down the last of your coffee, feeling the warm liquid spread relief through your empty stomach. Beans and bacon are gone. You've learned to eat fast on the trail. Time's always tight. And a cowboy who lingers over his food might just end up hungry. Cookie grabs your empty plate, grumbling like he's saying thanks. You head back to your bedroll, roll it tight, and tie it up. With practiced moves, everything you own in the world is packed into this bundle. A spare shirt, a pair of socks, a small pouch of tobacco, a straight razor, and a faded photo of your mom. $35 in wages carefully tucked in your boot. Saved up over more than a month's work. Not much, but enough to keep you fed and with a roof over your head. During the winter months when cattle herding slows and farm work eases off, you tighten your bedroll behind the saddle and check your horse carefully. This horse has been with you for 3 years now, solid and steady, a good ride. You run your hand down its leg, feeling for any swelling or heat signs of injury. Nothing. Alarming. Next, you check the hooves. pulling out little stones and packed dirt. A lame horse out here could mean death, not just for the horse, but for you too. The nearest town's 4 days away by wagon, and no cowboy can keep up with a cattle drive on foot. Mount up. The trail boss's order echoes through the camp, and immediately, a flurry of activity as the men finish preparations and swing into the saddles. The morning air's still, cool as you hop on, feeling the familiar leather beneath you. Your body fits the saddle like it belongs there. Years of riding have shaped your muscles and bones just so. You nudge the horse forward, sliding into your spot in the line as a mid-level cowboy. Today, you're on the flank, keeping the herd together and chasing down any stray cattle trying to wander off. Ahead, the led riders have moved toward the grazing pasture where the herd spent the night. In the fading light, you can see the cattle, giant longhorns, some still lying down, some up grazing on sparse grass. Their massive horns catch the early sunlight, some spreading 6 feet or more from tip to tip. These aren't your friendly, docile beef cattle of today. These, out toward the grazing area where the herd spends the night, in the fading light, you can see the massive longhorn cattle, some still lying down, others up and nibbling on the sparse grass. Their giant horns catch the morning sun, some stretching 6 feet or more from tip to tip. Not your cuddly modern beef cattle. These Texas Longhorns are a wild Spanish hybrid, toughened up for the harsh frontier life. They're lean, scrappy, and can be downright dangerous if you piss them off. The cattle drive is kicking off. The lead riders circle in front of the herd, while the wagon riders prod the reluctant horses to get moving. You stand along the herd. You circle around the front of the horse herd, while the riders urge on the horses, still hesitating to stand. You line up along the herd, your horse always alert beneath you, ready to react to the slightest pressure from your legs. This is when experience kicks in, knowing how to move, when to push, when to hold back. A good cowboy can read cattle like an open book, predicting their moves before they happen. When the herd starts moving, a familiar cloud of dust rises into the air. You pull your bandana over your nose and mouth, but from experience, you know by day's end, there's no escaping it. Dust is as much a part of the herd as the longhorns themselves. The sun climbs higher, heat cranking up by the hour. By noon, it feels like you're walking through a giant oven. Air shimmering over the grasslands. Sweat soaks your shirt, then dries instantly in the hot, dry wind. Your lips crack, and no amount of water will quench that thirst. But your canteen has to last till night, so you sip sparingly, just enough to wet your mouth. Around midday, you spot a stray animal breaking away from the herd, its skinny frame darting through a gap. Without hesitation, you signal your horse by shifting your weight and foot pressure. The horse instantly responds, changing direction and speeding up toward the runaway longhorn. This is why you survive. Those perfect moments of communication between rider and horse, the thrill of the chase, the satisfaction of a job well done. You close in fast on the young steer, the rope loose in your hand. With a practiced flick, you swing the rope overhead and let it fly, watching until it snags tight around the animal's neck. Your horse knows the drill and braces as you pull and start leading the stray back to the herd. It's a dance you've done 1,000 times, and yeah, it's risky. A misstep could throw your horse, wrap the rope around your arm, or send an angry longhorn charging. But there's a certain beauty to it. The yearling turns back to the herd, and you settle back into your saddle, coil the rope, and tie it tight again. Your arm aches from the effort, plus the usual cowboy discomfort, but no time to rest or recover. Another wild critter is breaking away on the other side, and one of your cowboy buddies is racing to cut it off. The afternoon stretches endlessly before you, a monotonous cycle of riding, watching, chasing, and returning. The trail boss sets a steady pace, aiming to cover 15 miles before camp. Sounds easy, right? But moving 2,000 cattle across open land is slow work. Too fast and they lose weight, dropping in market value. Too slow and you risk running out of water, grass, or worse, getting caught in an early winter storm up north. As the sun dips toward the western horizon, your thoughts turn to the evening ahead. There'll be another meal of beans and bacon, maybe some biscuits if cookie's feeling generous. Coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in, as cowboys love to joke. A couple hours to rest before the night watch starts. Each man takes turns guarding the herd, alert for predators, rustlers, or anything that might spook the cattle into a stampede. Tonight, your second watch, meaning just a few hours of sleep before a midnight wake-up. Not ideal. Third watch lets you sleep uninterrupted, but still better than first watch, which kicks off right after dinner and leaves you struggling to stay awake the next day. The boss signals the herd to move gently east, toward a creek that can supply water for the night. Finding a good overnight spot is a crucial skill. The area needs water, enough grass to feed 2,000 hungry cattle, and ideally some natural features. At night, you stay sharp for predators, cattle thieves, or anything that might spook the herd into a panic. Tonight, you're on the second shift, meaning just a few hours of sleep before a midnight wake-up call. Not ideal. The third shift lets you rest uninterrupted, but it's still better than the first shift, which starts right after dinner and makes you fight to stay awake in the saddle next day. The boss signals the herd to move east, toward a small creek that can supply water for the night. Finding a good spot to camp is a skill. This place needs water, enough grass to feed 2,000 hungry cattle, and ideally some natural features to help keep the herd contained. Tonight's spot looks promising with a creek on one side and sloping land on the other. That makes it easier to keep the longhorns together as the sun hits the horizon, painting the sky in fiery orange and red. The day's journey finally ends. The thirsty cows, after hours on the move, eagerly head to the creek. The cowboys take up strategic positions around the herd, making sure the animals don't wander off. You groan as you dismount, legs stiff and sore after 14 hours in the saddle. The ground feels weird under your feet, and you walk with that classic cowboy limp. Pro move. Your top priority, the horse. No matter how hungry or wiped out you are, your trusty steed comes first. You strip off the saddle and reins, checking for any wounds or sores from the day's trek. If everything looks good, you brush the horse's coat with a handful of grass, wiping away sweat and dust. Only once your horse is watered, fed, and tucked in for the night do you think about yourself. The supply wagon's already set up. Cookie works his usual magic with the meager ingredients on hand. The smell of food pulls cowboys like moths to a flame, momentarily erasing their exhaustion as they anticipate a hot meal. You shuffle into line, nodding tiredly at your buddies. After a day like this, talking's just not happening. Everyone's too wiped out. Plate in hand, you hunt for a spot to sit. Your body sinks gratefully into the ground. Beans and bacon have never tasted better, probably because you're starving enough to eat a shoe. Now you eat slowly, savoring each bite, knowing that once you finish, sweet sleep will follow around you. The other cowboys do the same. Some lie on their blankets, boots on, hats pulled low to block out the fading light. When night falls fully, the night watch gets ready to patrol. 4 men on the first shift move slowly around the herd, quietly singing to the cattle. A cowboy's singing voice might not win any town contests, but here it serves a crucial purpose. The steady rhythm calms the herd and signals the rider's location, preventing spooked reactions in the dark. You spread your blanket on a fairly flat patch of ground, skipping the clothes-off routine. Just kick off your boots, placing them carefully nearby so you can slip back in quick if needed. The night air cools down, a relief after the day's heat. But that also means the temperature might dip uncomfortably low before dawn. You pull your blanket up, use the saddle as a pillow, and gaze up at the stars popping out in the darkening sky. This is the moment when all the cowboy hardships suddenly feel worth it, lying under a sky so full of stars. It's like you could just reach out and touch them. The soft sounds of cattle and horses nearby, the vast openness of the frontier stretching in every direction. Despite the aches in your body, the gnawing hunger, and the lurking dangers everywhere, there's a freedom here you just can't find in those crowded eastern cities. Your eyelids grow heavy from pure exhaustion. Tomorrow's gonna be a day just like today. Dust, heat, endless riding, and the sharp vigilance needed to keep 2,000 semi-wild longhorns moving in the right direction. But for now, sleep calls, promising a few hours of rest before your shift starts again. As you drift off, the last thing you hear is the distant voice of a cowboy on watch. His song floats gently through the night air, like a lullaby for both cattle and man. Oh, don't bury me out here on this lonely prairie. The words are low and sad. Your breath deepens, muscles finally relaxing after a long day's grind. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Now all that's left is the starry blanket above, solid earth below, and the blissful forgetfulness of sleep. A rough hand shakes your shoulder, pulling you from your deepest slumber. Your watch. Luis. A Mexican priest whispers. You can slip your boots on quickly if you need to. The night air cools down, a welcome relief after the day's heat. But that also means the temperature might drop to an uncomfortably low level before morning. You pull the blanket up, use your saddle as a pillow, and stare at the stars popping out in the darkening sky. This is the moment when all the cowboy hardships suddenly feel worth it, lying beneath a sky so full of stars they seem close enough to touch. The gentle sounds of cattle and horses behind you, the endless openness of the frontier stretching in every direction. Despite sore muscles, constant hunger, and danger lurking everywhere, there's a freedom here you just can't find in the crowded cities back east. Your eyelids grow heavy from exhaustion. Tomorrow will be another day just like today. Dust, heat, endless riding, and the constant vigilance needed to keep 2,000 semi-wild longhorns moving the right way. Your eyelids feel like lead from exhaustion. Tomorrow will be just like today. Dust, heat, non-stop horseback riding, and the constant vigilance needed to keep 2,000 wild longhorn cattle moving the right way. But for now, sleep is calling, promising a few hours of rest before your shift starts again. As you drift off, the last thing you hear is the distant voice of a cowboy on watch. His song gently echoes through the night air, like a lullaby for both cattle and man. Oh, don't bury me out on this lonely prairie. The words come out low and sad. Your breath deepens, muscles finally relaxing after a long, hard day. Tomorrow can take care of itself. For now, there's only the starry blanket above, solid ground beneath, and the blissful oblivion of sleep. A rough hand shakes your shoulder, pulling you from your deepest sleep. "That's your watch, Luis," whispers one of the Mexican priests. You can barely make out his face in the darkness, just the faint glow from his eyes under his hat. Still quiet for now, you blink to shake off the drowsiness. Your body protests as you push yourself up from the rolled-up bedroll. Every muscle aches after a day of cycling, but there's no time for pampering. Night watch is a duty no cowboy takes lightly. The whole group's safety depends on the alertness of those circling the herd. What should I know, you ask? Still half asleep? Louise shrugs. Some prairie wolves howl off to the north, but they keep their distance. The herd is settled. He hands you a tin cup. The coffee's still hot by the fire. You're gonna need it. The night's colder than a bank teller's heart. He's not kidding. The temperature's dropped a lot since sunset, typical countryside stuff. Your breath puffs out in little clouds as you slip on your boots and grab your coat. This wool coat's your year-round companion, but tonight you'll be grateful for its weight fighting off the chill. The fire's dying down, just glowing embers with the occasional flicker. Cookies curled up nearby on his roll-up bed, ready to wake first and fix breakfast. You pour yourself a cup of coffee from the kettle warming on the fire's edge. It's thick and bitter, but the warmth between your palms is pure bliss, and the strong taste will keep you sharp through your shift. You gulp it down and head over to the horse fence. Your dog perks up, ears swiveling forward to spot you. Just a few hours of work. "Buddy," you mutter, scratching behind his collar. The horse stands patient as you saddle up, the leather creaking quietly in the night's stillness. You double-check the straps. A loose saddle could be deadly before climbing on. The night's clear and cold, stars like diamond dust scattered across black velvet. The crescent moon casts enough light to see, making long shadows stretch across the landscape. You pause to get your bearings. The herd huddles in a dark mass nearby, mostly lying down, breathing heavy, a collective rhythm of snorts and soft sighs. 4 other cowboys patrol the herd's perimeter at equal distances. You spur your horse forward to join them, sliding into your assigned spot. Night watch follows a simple routine: slow circles around the herd, humming or softly singing so the cattle know you're there and stay alert for anything weird. Sometimes it's peaceful, almost meditative in its repetition. Other times, especially in storms or on native lands, every sense sharpens painfully. Every shadow could be trouble. Tonight seems quiet. The herd is settled, and the only sounds are gentle hoofbeats on the grass, the occasional moo, and a distant nighthawk's call. You start humming a familiar tune, just loud enough for the nearest cattle to hear. The song's about home and lost love, classic cowboy ballad stuff, capturing the loneliness of the trail life. Your ride will take you past Jose, another night rider who nods a quiet hello. Neither of you speaks. Loud voices would startle the herd, and sound carries far in the still night air. Besides, there's an unspoken understanding among cowboys. Night watch is for reflection, private thoughts, and memories of places and people left behind. Your mind wanders as you ride, remembering how you got into this life 5 years ago, 17, a farm kid from Missouri with dreams of adventure. Reality of cowboy life quickly shows it's way less romantic than the story's brutal work. Constant danger, low pay, boredom so deep it numbs, mixed with moments of sheer terror. But something about this life keeps you here, passing up easier jobs and growing frontier towns. Maybe it's freedom, or maybe after years in the saddle, you just forgot how to live any other way. A movement catches your eye. Something dark slips through the shadows on the herd's edge. Memories of places and people left far behind. Your mind wanders as you pedal, recalling how you got here 5 years ago. You were just 17 then, a farm boy from Missouri with big adventure dreams. Reality hit fast. Cowboy life is way less romantic than the story's brutal work. Constant danger, low pay, boredom that could paralyze you, mixed with moments of sheer terror. But still, something about this life kept you here, passing up cushier gigs and growing border towns. Maybe it's the freedom, or maybe after years in the saddle, you just forgot how to live any other way. A movement catches your eye. Something dark flickers at the edge of the herd. You tense, hand reaching for your holstered pistol, then relax when you spot that unmistakable shape of a prairie wolf. These little predators are smart enough to keep their distance from the giant antelope, probably hoping to snag some droppings or catch a rabbit the herd scares up. You shift slightly in the saddle, trying to find a comfier spot. Your back aches and your legs are numb and aching from sitting too long. Cowboys joke they're more comfortable on horseback than on their own 2 feet, but honestly, after weeks on the trail, there's no real comfy option. Night wraps around you, and the temperature keeps dropping. Your fingers stiffen inside your gloves. Leather gloves don't do much against the cold. But at least they keep rope burns at bay during the day. You keep curling your fingers, knowing you'll need max dexterity in an emergency handling rope or your gun. Time drags painfully slow on this watch. Nothing moves except the stars slowly shifting and the circle you make around the sleeping herd. Sometimes your mind plays tricks. Shadows seem to move or shapeshift, but on closer look, it's just harmless bushes or rocks. Staying alert without freaking out takes years to master. A faint sound grabs your attention, not from the herd, but from the distant dark. You strain to ID it. Again, that telltale snort of a horse, but not yours. Your heart races as you scan around. Could be nothing a wild horse passing by. Or it could be trouble. Native rustlers sometimes sneak in at night, hoping to snag a few cattle from the herd's edge. You subtly signal Jose, riding the next perimeter. He's heard it too, shifting direction cautiously to investigate. You do the same on your side, both careful not to spook the herd. Your right hand rests lightly on your pistol, ready but not drawn. A stampede would be way worse than losing a few cows. So you move carefully. The sound doesn't repeat. And after 15 tense minutes, on high alert, you start to relax a bit. Probably just a wild horse, or maybe the wind messing with you. Still, you stay sharp. For the rest of your shift, your eyes keep scanning the dark behind the herd. Hours pass in cold, aching vigilance. Your back aches so bad, there's no shifting position that helps. Your eyes burn with tiredness, and you fight hard not to close them. Night watch is tough like that, battling the body's desperate need for sleep, while staying focused enough to protect the herd. Finally, the eastern sky starts to brighten. At first, the darkness just softens, then pale gray light spreads. Stars near the horizon fade as pre-dawn light grows stronger. Relief floods your body. Your watch is almost over, and nothing serious happened. The cattle stir as daylight creeps in. Some stand to graze. Others stay put, not quite ready for the day. The trail boss climbs out of his bedroll, first scanning the herd, then the sky, guessing what the day holds. He signals Cookie, who's awake, to stoke the fire, then starts waking the rest of the crew. Another day on the trail begins. You finish your last loop as camp stirs. The men move stiffly, breath visible in the cold morning air. Diego rides out to relieve you, still grimacing from sleep. Anything he asks, you report. Heard a horse during the shift. Nothing came of it. He nods, takes your horse, and heads back to camp. You're wiped out. That kind of exhaustion where your whole body feels like it's been run over, but no rest yet. Now you're wiped out. The kind of exhaustion that makes your whole body feel like it's on autopilot, but no rest yet. The day's work is about to start, and night riders are expected to pull their weight like everyone else. You'll get sleep. Tomorrow night, if you're not on watch again, you hop off near the supply wagon. The smell of coffee and frying bacon makes your empty stomach grumble. Cookie looks up from his work, his worn face stone cold. He says, "Eat something. Boss wants to roll out early today. Says there's water 10 miles ahead, and he wants to." Get there by noon. Coffee perks you up a bit, and the food bacon, beans, and some cookies gives you the energy you need for the morning grind. You eat fast. Stand by the fire to warm up. Watching the camp shift from a bunch of sleepyheads to a well-oiled work crew in minutes. This routine is so familiar, you don't even have to think. Eat, saddle up your new horse from Remuda, roll the blankets tight, secure them behind the saddle, and get in position. Today, you're assigned to the left flank, keeping the herd together and stopping any strays. As the sun peeks over the horizon, bathing the scene in golden light, the cattle start moving, pushed forward by the drovers behind. Dust kicks up. Instantly, fine particles invade everything: clothes, nose, mouth, even your eyes, despite the bandana, which just makes them water like Niagara Falls trying to clean themselves. Your body moves instinctively, guiding the horse by shifting weight and gentle leg pressure. After years in the saddle, these moves come as naturally as walking, but your mind battles the exhaustion from a sleepless night. You drift off, then jerk awake, struggling to stay alert enough for the job. The morning drags by in a haze of dust and fatigue. The sun climbs higher, its heat piercing the chill of the night. Though at this time of year, daytime weather is still pleasantly warm rather than scorching, you're grateful for the little things. Herding cattle in midsummer is a special kind of torture, with temps soaring over 100 dollars on the open plains. By mid-morning, you're locked into the rhythm, your body working despite its protests. The landscape rolls by. Grasslands stretch endlessly to the horizon in every direction, occasionally broken by shallow mountain creeks or small bushes along seasonal streams. It's beautiful because it's vast, though few cowboys would ever describe it that way. To most, it's just the backdrop for their work, notable only for practical concerns like water, grass, and shelter. A commotion ahead of the herd grabs your attention. One of the front riders is waving his hat, signaling for help. You press your heel into your horse's side, urging it forward to check out the situation. As you get closer, you spot the problem. A bunch of cattle are clustered crossing a narrow mountain pass, causing a dangerous bottleneck that could split the herd. You and a few other cowboys hustle to push the reluctant herd forward. It's risky work. The animals are nervous, some turning back and trying to break away. Longhorn horns can stretch over 6 feet tip to tip. Deadly weapons when wielded by a panicked 1,000-pound beast. One wrong move and you're getting gored or trampled. Your horse knows the drill, lunging to herd a steer back into the pass, then quickly pulling away before the animal can react. You swing your lasso overhead, making noise and motion to guide the cattle. Slowly, the leaders find their way down the gentle slope of the pass and up the other side, with the rest following. Crisis averted. You return to your spot on the flank. Adrenaline helps you push through fatigue for now. This, essentially, is cowboy life. Long stretches of boring, punctuated by bursts of intense, risky action. The trail boss nods approvingly as he passes by. The closest thing you get to a compliment. By noon, just as promised. The wagon reaches a small creek. Water's scarce. Just a shallow ribbon winding through the prairie, but enough for the cattle to drink and everyone to fill their canteens. Temporarily help you fight off this exhaustion. Basically, this is cowboy life. Long stretches of boredom mixed with bursts of intense, dangerous action. The trail boss nods approvingly as he passes by. The closest thing you get to a compliment. By midday, just like promised. The wagon reaches a small creek. Not much water, just a shallow ribbon winding through the prairie. Enough for the cattle to drink and everyone to refill canteens. Animals crowd toward the water, jostling for position while cowboys try to keep them from crushing each other or wrecking the creek bank. You take a quick splash on your face, washing off some of the dust. The cool liquid feels great on your sun-baked skin. You take a deep swig. Then, carefully fill your canteen and screw the cap tight. Water's precious here, never wasted or taken for granted. No real lunch breaks. Cowboys usually eat on horseback during the day, mostly jerky or some tough snack from a pouch. The only proper meals happen at breakfast and dinner when the chuck wagon's set up. Meanwhile, you're chewing on a piece of jerky while riding tough, salty meat that needs some serious jaw power. It doesn't fill you up but keeps hunger at bay and gives you something to focus on besides pure exhaustion. The afternoon stretches out. Ahead still cattle moving steadily across lush green grass. Your tiredness hits harder. Your eyelids feel like weights. Your head bobbing even though you're trying your best. This is the danger zone, where sleep-deprived cowboys mess up big time sometimes. Fatally, you pinch yourself, bite your cheek, do whatever it takes to stay awake. The scenery subtly shifts as the wagon heads north. Grass grows a bit thicker here, with occasional rows of cottonwood trees lining the streams. You're leaving the Texas plains behind, moving into wetter lands, good cattle country, and depending on the time, you get to enjoy the changing scenery. But today, your world shrinks down to just one urgent need: stay awake and do your job. A movement on your right grabs your attention. A rabbit bolts from cover, startled by an incoming group of rabbits. Instinctively, your hand shoots up to your pistol, drawing and aiming before your brain even kicks in. You stop just before pulling the trigger. That knee-jerk reaction shows both your training and your sleep-deprived nerves. You slowly holster your gun, heart pounding, realizing you almost caused a stampede you should have prevented. Feeling a bit jumpy today. That voice belongs to Tom, an old-timer cowboy riding nearby. His weathered face shows amusement more than worry. Night watch does that to a man. Keep that iron tucked away unless you want to get skinned alive. You nod, embarrassed, but grateful. No real damage was done. Tom's right. Firing near cattle without cause is one of the cardinal sins of the cattle biz, capable of sparking a stampede killing. Both people and animals. The trail boss would surely chew you out, or worse, for such a mistake. You ask how far to Abilene, hoping Chatting keeps you alert. Tom squints at the horizon. 3 weeks in good weather, maybe longer if trouble shows up. Trouble like floods, Native American attacks, or that scary Texas fever sometimes hitting cattle up north, spreading from those supposedly healthy longhorns. Thinking about the destination stirs mixed feelings. Abilene means the trip's done, payday, and town luxuries a real bed, hot bath, maybe a stop at the saloon for whiskey and cards. But it also means deciding what's next hunting winter work, maybe signing with another outfit for a southern run, or trying your luck in something totally different. Some cowboys dream of saving enough to buy a small herd of their own someday, but the lousy pay makes that dream pretty distant for most. Your train of thought breaks with a yell. From the right, part of the herd found better grazing and started drifting that way, threatening to split up. You spur your horse forward to herd them back, grateful for the action to keep you awake. Along with 3 other cowboys, you guide the strays back. The herd. The sun begins setting in the west, the light changing as dusk falls. Their luck in a totally different game. Some cowboys dream of saving enough cash to buy a small herd someday, but the tiny paychecks make that dream pretty far-fetched for most. Your thoughts get cut off by a shout. From the right, part of the herd found some primo grass and started drifting that way, threatening to split the group. You spur your horse forward to help herd them back, grateful for the movement to keep you awake. You and 3 other cowboys work together to steer the strays home. The herd. The sun begins to set in the west, the light changing as dusk falls. Long shadows stretch across the prairie, and the daytime heat starts to fade. Now you're so tired, just acting on instinct and willpower. Each hour drags like 3, and you find yourself constantly counting down until the day's ride ends and you can finally crash at last. As the sun nears the horizon, the boss signals the herd to move to a good spot for the night. It's a solid choice, a shallow basin inland with a creek running along one edge, providing both water and natural shelter for the livestock. The animals, worn out after a long day on the trail, happily shuffle toward the water and the lush grass lining the riverbank. This setup works like a charm to keep the herd settled. Overnight, the supply wagon has rolled in and is all set, cookies busy by the campfire getting dinner ready. Smells like beans again, but tonight, instead of bacon, it's salted pork, and if luck's on your side, maybe some biscuits. Making your stomach rumble with anticipation, you help herd the cattle into place. Then finally, you gladly dismount. Your legs nearly give out under your own weight, stiff and sore from sitting in the saddle all day, plus the overnight watch. You take care of your horse first, like always, unbuckling the saddle and reins, checking for any cuts or scrapes, brushing her down, making sure she's got water and grass. Only then can you drag yourself toward the supply wagon with every ounce of effort. Cookie hands you a plate and comments that you look like you just got dragged back from hell. That's not sympathy. Cowboys don't do sympathy. They just state facts. You admit you feel the same and gratefully take the food. You find a seat, your heavy body sinking to the ground. The meal's simple but hot and filling, exactly what you need. Around you, the other cowboys eat with the laser focus of men who know the value of a meal that's not dry or tough. Conversation is sparse. Everyone's beat. And tomorrow's gonna be more of the same. The trail boss comes over just as you finish eating and stops by your side. He says he's off watch tonight, clearly not offering a favor but stating a fact. Get some sleep. You nod, too wiped out to say much. Right after you finish and hand back the biscuit plate, you spread out your blanket and get ready to crash. The sun's fully down and the temperature's dropping fast. No need to strip down, just stash your boots nearby so you can grab them quick if needed. Your pistol's tucked under your folded coat, doubling as a pillow. Around you, the camp's settling in for the night. Some men chat quietly, others patch torn clothes or fix gear by the firelight. A few smoke, the sweet tobacco mingling with wood smoke. The night patrol gets ready to head out, checking gear and mounting horses. With smooth efficiency, you lie back, staring up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Despite the aches and bone-deep exhaustion, there's a certain peace right now. The vast sky above, solid earth beneath, and knowing you did your best in tough conditions. That's its own kind of satisfaction. Your eyelids grow heavy. Voices around you fade as you drift off. Tomorrow will bring more dust, more danger, more monotony mixed with bursts of action. But for now, only the sweet forgetfulness of rest pulls you down into darkness, like a stone sinking deep underwater. Your last conscious thought is gratitude for food in your belly, relative safety of the camp, and above all, the gift of uninterrupted sleep, free from watch duty. Then, your awareness fades, and you slip into dreams of green valleys and clear streams, far from the dust and danger of the trail. Morning comes too soon, the first gray light of dawn slipping through your tightly shut eyelids. For a moment, you lie still, savoring the last bit of sleep before the new day begins. Your body feels heavies. You hit the ground, muscles stiff and sore after weeks of hard riding. The cool air hits your face, carrying the scent of damp grass, smoke from the rekindled fire, and the earthy smell of livestock spreading. The smell of damp grass, wood smoke from the campfire, and the earthy scent of cattle spreading all around the trail, surrounding you. The camp is starting to buzz. Pots clang on the food wagon. The breakfast announcement comes through soon. The men groan and moan as they get up. Their bodies are protesting after a night spent on hard ground. No one talks much at this hour. Words only start flowing once the coffee kicks in. You push yourself up, wincing from all the aches popping up. This morning, your lower back is especially cranky. Push yourself up, grimacing at the various aches popping up. This morning, your lower back feels especially stiff, and your right shoulder aches sharply, the spot where you took a spill off your horse last month. Old and new wounds mixed together after years on the trail, creating the kind of pain any seasoned cowboy carries around. The trail boss stands near the campfire, chatting with Cookie and eyeing the sky. This morning's air feels heavy. The light has that certain quality that screams weather's about to get ugly. Not. Good news. Rain can turn a simple cattle pen into a muddy nightmare. Wild cattle and the constant risk of stampedes. You lace up your boots and head to the food wagon, joining the line waiting for coffee. Diego hands you a tin cup, steaming with black liquid, thick enough to dunk a spoon in, just like the cowboys always say. The first sip might scorch your tongue, but then it spreads a warm, comforting glow through your body. By the third gulp, you start feeling human again. Breakfast is the usual biscuits, salted beans, pork, and more biscuits. You've eaten this 1,000 times, but hunger makes it taste just fine. You find a spot, nodding hello to the men around you. Talk is still minimal. Most folks focus on eating and gearing up for the day ahead. The trail boss announces today's river crossing, his voice booming across camp. The men groan in unison. River crossings are among the riskiest parts of cattle drives deep water. Angry animals, and a buffet of disaster waiting to happen. About 10 miles ahead, goal get there by mid-afternoon, cross before sunset. You finish breakfast fast, knowing there'll be extra work once you hit the river. Every man in this outfit has to stay sharp and ready. Every horse steady and reliable. The trail boss starts, assigning spots for the day, putting the most experienced riders at key points around the herd. He tells you to take the left side, a spot that's both a compliment and a bit of a headache. The rider, leading the herd, sets the pace and direction. It's a job that demands sharp judgment and lightning-fast reflexes. The boss probably noticed how you handled that narrow mountain pass yesterday. Or maybe he's just short on hands and grabbing every capable rider he can find. This morning, you saddle carefully, double-checking every strap and buckle. Gear failure during a river crossing could be deadly, not just for you, but for anyone caught in the chaos. Your horse seems to sense the gravity of today, standing unusually still as you tighten the straps and secure the bedroll behind the saddle. As the sun fully rises on the horizon, everyone's dressed and ready to move. The herd's up, munching the last bits of grass before being urged forward. You'll take the front left side of the herd, alongside Manuel, an old pro vaquero who'll ride the front right. Together, you'll guide 2,000 longhorn cattle to the riverbank ahead. The day's ride kicks off like any other, slow herd movement. Dust clouds rising, constant vigilance to keep the cattle moving in the right direction. But today, there's an undercurrent of tension among the cowboys. Everyone's aware of the challenge ahead. River crossing is a test for both man and beast, exposing weaknesses and demanding perfect teamwork from the whole crew. The scenery shifts as morning progresses. Flat grasslands give way to rolling hills on both sides. Trees appear more often cottonwoods and willows signaling the nearby river. Grass grows thicker and greener thanks to the rising moisture in the soil. By a real challenge for both man and beast, exposing weak spots and demanding perfect teamwork from the whole outfit. The scenery starts to shift as morning arrives. The flat grasslands give way to more varied terrain, with gentle hills popping up on both sides. Trees become more frequent, poplars and willows hinting at a river nearby. The grass thickens and turns greener thanks to the rising moisture in the soil. By mid-morning, you can smell the river, that unmistakable mix of water, mud, and riverbank plants. The cattle sense it too, picking up their pace as thirst drives them forward. This eagerness helps move the herd, but becomes a headache at crossing points where control is crucial. The trail boss rides up beside you, face serious under a wide-brimmed hat. The river's rising, he says. No small talk. Scout team's back. The current's strong, but there's a safe way in and out a bit downstream. You nod, taking it in. High river means deeper water, faster flow, and way more danger. But a gentle slope instead of a steep bank, that's a lifesaver. The worst river crossings are a nightmare deep water plus steep, muddy banks that leave the cattle exhausted and struggling to climb out, creating choke points that can drown the herd. Keep 'em tight when you get close. The boss continues, but when we reach the water, leave some breathing room. Don't let them pack up like sardines in the current. Standard river crossing wisdom, sure, but always worth a reminder. Even the grisliest cowboys can screw this up when nerves kick in. Near noon, the river appears a wide, muddy brown ribbon slicing across the landscape. From here, it looks almost peaceful, the surface reflecting the blue sky above. Only the occasional swirl hints at the strong current lurking beneath that calm face. The trail boss orders a halt for last-minute instructions while the cattle graze. The men listen intently, knowing their lives might depend on crossing this river right. Orders given, backup plans set, signals agreed. The mood is focused, not scared. These guys have faced tough spots before and will again if they make it through this one. Your role as the guide is crucial. You're one of the first in the water, charting the way for the herd. If your horse crosses clean, the cattle will follow without panic. But if you mess up, well, chaos for the whole herd. The journey presses on toward the scout's chosen crossing. The closer you get, the more you see the river's power. How it drags broken branches caught in the flow. The water's murky with silt, making eyeballing the depth a lost cause. Crossing will be part faith, part skill. About 400 meters from the river, the guide signals to start forming the herd. The once straight line becomes a rough wedge. You and Manuel at the front on horseback. Other riders fan out to the sides and back, ready to prevent collisions and keep the herd moving. The most experienced men stay near the rear and along the bank, prepped to rescue any cattle or cowboys in trouble. Your mouth is dry even though the water's right there. You've crossed rivers before, worse ones, better ones, but every crossing has its own brand of danger. A last check of gear to make sure nothing's loose enough to wash away. Your rope is secured but easy to grab if things go south. The trail boss rides up one last time. Keep a steady pace, he reminds you, no rushing. Then he rides back down the line to oversee the whole operation. You glance at Manuel up front. The deputy's face is calm, but his eyes share your sense of the risk. He nods a silent pact of trust, then focuses back on the task. Prep time's over. You urge your horse forward, leading the herd. The ground softens underfoot as you near the riverbank. Thick grass mixed with reeds and rushes. The water sparkles ahead. The entry is a muddy, gravelly, gentle slope dropping into the river. Your horse hesitates at the water's edge, a natural caution you respect but must overcome. You nudge him gently with your legs, whisper encouragement. Easy now, buddy. No big deal. We've done this before. The horse braces and steps into the river, swirling water washing around his thighs, then knees as he goes deeper. Quickly, the water got deeper, and the bottom started to drop away. Before long, your horse was swimming, its strong shoulders working hard underneath you as it fought the current. The water rose to your knees, freezing even through thick canvas pants. You kept your feet in the stirrups. Unlike the usual horse falls crossing a river routine, it's actually better to hang on tight. Your fates were now seriously intertwined. The current pushed you harder than it looked from the shore. You had to constantly steer to stay on course toward the exit point on the far bank. You could hear splashing and the occasional roar behind you as the herd plunged into the water, but you didn't dare take your eyes off your crossing spot. Mid-river, the current got stronger. Guided by some invisible dip in the riverbed, your horse struggled, swimming with all its might, but being swept downstream. You fought the panic instinct, kept your body relaxed and your center of gravity focused. Freaking out now would have gotten you both killed. For a moment, it seemed like the water was winning, dragging you way downstream from the exit point. Then, your horse found new strength, its powerful legs kicking the water with renewed determination. Slowly, stroke by stroke, it clawed back toward the surface. The water started to shallow. Your horse's hooves occasionally touched the bottom. Hope surged as you neared the far bank. The exit point was now clear. A gentle gravel slope led up to solid ground. Your horse sensed it. So did you. Its efforts became more purposeful as solid footing neared. With a final burst, it left the main current. Water trickled past its flanks as it entered shallow water. Just a few more steps and you'd be out. Your shoes and pants were soaked through, but otherwise fine. You immediately turned back to check on the herd, gauging their river crossing progress. Behind you, chaos reigned but was under control. Hundreds of cattle plunged into the water at once, their giant horns poking up like a weird floating forest. Cowboys rode alongside the struggling animals, keeping them moving in the right direction, occasionally dashing in to herd stragglers back to safety. Manuel appeared from a nearby river, his horse panting from the effort. Like you, he immediately turned to watch the crossing, ready to ride back if needed. There was no celebration for making it safely across, especially since most of the herd and the crew were still in danger. The river crossing dragged on for over an hour, a tiring ordeal leading scared, stubborn animals through a deadly obstacle. From your vantage point on the bank, you could see the tension in both cattle and cowboys. Many animals got into trouble, swept away or panicked midstream, requiring risky rescues by riders. Miraculously, The herd crossed with minimal losses. Only 3 cattle were swept downstream despite the team's best efforts. One cowboy's horse stumbled in shallow water, dumping its rider, but both got out, relatively unscathed. By river crossing standards, this was a major win. The trail boss was last to cross, making sure every animal and person was safe before risking himself. When he finally rode out of the water, a subtle wave of relief washed over the crew. No one said a word about the relief. Cowboys don't brag about fear, even after something like this, but it showed in their slightly looser posture and deeper breaths. No time for rest, though. The herd needed to be moved off the river and settled for the night. They were agitated after the crossing, easily spooked or likely to wander off. Every man on the team stayed alert as they urged the herd forward. They reached a suitable grazing spot half a mile away. By the lakeshore, you rode while your soaked shoes and clothes clung uncomfortably to your skin despite the misery. You felt a quiet satisfaction. This spot was a solid position, and you'd handled it well in the unspoken ranks of the outfit. Stuff like this matters. As the sun began to set, the herd finally settled down, lazily munching fresh green grass on the riverbank. The feed wagon had to rest, but the herd must be moved off the river and settled for the night. They get jumpy after crossing, easily spooked or prone to wandering off. Every man in the crew stays sharp as they push the cattle, reaching a decent grazing spot half a mile away by the riverbank. You ride soaked through wet boots and clothes sticking to your skin. Uncomfortable, sure, but there's a quiet satisfaction. This spot is solid, and you handled it well in the outfit's unspoken hierarchy. That kind of thing matters. As the sun begins to set, the herd finally settles in, lazily munching lush river grass. The feed wagon has crossed a few miles of shallow river upstream and now waits for the cowboys. The promise of hot food pulls the tired men like moths to a flame. Tonight, you give your horse some extra care, knowing its strength and guts got you safely across. A handful of grain, scrubbed a little more thoroughly than usual. The man, tired as a moth to a flame, threw himself into the fire. Tonight, you pamper your horse a bit more than usual, knowing its strength and courage got you across the river in one piece. A little extra grain, a more thorough scrub than usual. Those tiny rewards for loyal service might have just saved your life. Only when it's well cared for do you feel comfortable enough to change into a fresh shirt and dry your soaked clothes near the fire. Dinner's a bit fancier than usual. Cookie treated himself to a stew with real beef chunks, beans, and fresh biscuits soaking up the sauce. That's how he quietly marked the day's success without making a scene. And men eating together with extra appreciation after facing danger, helping them notice the little comforts all the more. Tonight, the campfire stories get livelier. The successful river crossing has lifted everyone's spirits. The stories just keep flowing. Tales of other river crossings, some ordinary, some downright tragic, the usually tight-lipped cowboys now share. Years of trail experience, each story packed with its own lesson wrapped in humor or subtle drama. Sorrow. Here's a panicked shout from the Brazos River in '67 retold by Tom, a veteran who rode alongside him yesterday. The water rose, as high as today, but the steep banks and muddy edges claimed nearly 50 lives, including 2 good soldiers, he tells it, matter-of-factly, though the memory still haunts him. One man got trapped between a bull and a submerged log. No chance. Others share similar stories, not to scare, but to remind everyone the trail hides dangers that deserve respect. A shared experience might just save lives. Even the youngest cowboys listen intently, soaking up advice no book can teach. The trail boss joins the circle, grabs a coffee from Cookie. "Good work today," he says. Briefly, that's warm praise from a man of few words, and the whole group accepts it with quiet pride. Tomorrow will make up. For lost time, dawn breaks. No complaints. The trip's got a tight schedule. The cattle are supposed to reach the railhead on a set day. Contracts need fulfilling. Today's victory is behind us. Tomorrow's challenges await. Night watch duties are assigned with high alert because of unfamiliar land and cattle's lingering anxiety after the crossing. You're on third shift? From about 2 a.m. till dawn. Not the easiest shift, but better than no sleep at all, as night fully falls. You spread your blanket on a fairly flat spot, body heavy with exhaustion despite still being a little wired from the day's excitement. Around you, other cowboys have found their eternal rest, some snoring softly, others whispering or puffing the last cigarette. Before sleep, you lie back staring at the starry sky. Those stars shine down on Texas, on homes and families. Many haven't seen each other for months. Some have no home to go back to. The trail is their only constant. Their clothes, their only family. A tough life, offering nothing but basic pay and quiet satisfaction from a job well done, but it offers a freedom few jobs can match. No walls cage you in. No boss watches your every move. Your worth is measured by skill and reliability, not social status or book smarts for men who don't fit into town life or regular jobs. The trail offers a place to belong, where their quirks are accepted as long as they give it their all. These thoughts drift through your mind as sleep creeps closer. Tomorrow will bring its own trials, another 20 miles if the boss wants. More dust, more aches, more moments of danger tangled with hours of monotony. But tonight, after crossing the river successfully, and with your belly full from the best meal in weeks, contentment drowns out worry. Where they fit in, their quirks accepted as long as they give it their all, these thoughts drift through your mind as sleep creeps in. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, another 20 miles if the boss wants. More dust, more aches, more moments of danger mixed with endless monotony. But tonight, having crossed the river safely, and your belly full from the best meal in weeks, contentment beats out worry. Your eyelids feel heavy, you're breathing deeper. Whispering by the campfire blends with soft mooing and occasional footsteps. Horse hooves provide a lullaby familiar to every cowboy. Sleep comes quickly, pulling you into welcoming darkness. Almost like minutes later, a hand shakes your shoulder, even though your body says hours have passed. Your watch whispers a voice in the dark. Your body insists hours have passed. Your watch whispers a voice from the shadows. You blink awake, momentarily lost. The camp is silent now, the fire reduced to glowing embers, barely bright enough to see by. The moon hangs low in the western sky, almost 2 a.m. Your third watch has arrived. You stand up stiffly, slip on your boots, and grab your jacket. The night air's biting, especially with the river so close. You check your pistol by feel a habit so drilled in you don't think twice. Then you head over to the horses tied up nearby. Your horse greets you with soft, fresh underwear, a welcome contrast to the day's sweaty efforts. You quickly saddle up, fingers working by touch, memorizing in the dim light. Minutes later, you're riding out to relieve a tired cowboy who's been circling since midnight, silent as a ghost. He reports a few prairie wolves to the east, but they're keeping their distance. You nod and take over, while he heads back to camp for a few hours of well-earned sleep. The herd looks like a black mass on the prairie. Most are lying down. They're breathing a collective rhythm of soft snorts and big bluffs. You begin your slow patrol around the perimeter. The night is clear and peaceful, stars sparkling above. A gentle breeze carries the scent of river water and sweet dried grass beneath the herd. In moments like these, the trail's hardships feel miles away, balanced by a deep, almost spiritual connection to earth and sky, rarely felt by most. You hum quietly as you ride a tuneless sound to let the herd know you're there. Watching over 2,000 half-wild longhorn cattle might sound impossible for one man, but seasoned cowboys know calm. Well-fed cattle rarely cause trouble at night unless spooked. Your presence, moving predictably among them, is more reassurance than alarm bell. Hours pass slow and thoughtful. Your mind drifts, recalling past rides, wondering about the road ahead, occasionally snapping back to more practical worries, like your worn-out boots or if the pay will cover that new saddle you've been dreaming of. Back in Abilene, the eastern sky starts to lighten, stars near the horizon fading as the first dawn rays peek out. The herd stirs. Some start grazing in the cool morning air. Your watch is almost over. The night passed without incident. The best kind of watch, if you ask a cowboy. As daylight grows stronger, you spot the river in the distance, its surface shimmering in the morning haze. Yesterday's river crossing already feels like a distant memory, just another challenge on the long northern trail. More challenges lie ahead: storms, stampedes, cattle rustlers, thirsty days, each demanding the skill and grit of the whole crew. But those thoughts can wait. For now, there's only rising light, a peaceful herd, and the satisfaction of another smooth watch completed. Between the dangers of cattle drives and the boredom always wins. The trail boss crawls out of his blanket, signaling a brand new day has officially begun. Cookies already at work, the coffee's on the fire, breakfast prep is underway, one by one. The cowboys stand, walking stiffly in the cool morning air, faces creased with sleep and beards rough from days on the trail, as your replacement rides out to take over. You head back to camp. The smell of coffee pulls you like a magnet. Your body aches from the overnight ride and yesterday's efforts, but now the discomfort's just a rhythm, a necessary part of the daily cycle. The ride goes on, day blending into day. Every mile brings you closer to Abilene, and the end of this particular journey, there will be more rides. As long as cattle need moving and you need the paycheck, it's no easy or glamorous life, but it's got its own rugged charm and simple pleasures. When you dismount near the cattle wagon and get a steaming cup of coffee from Cookie's rough hands, you think, no matter how tough it gets, there are worse ways to live than under the wide open sky, doing back-breaking work and pushing yourself to the limit every single day. This trail has claimed the lives of plenty of good men, and it'll claim even more before the great cattle driving era ends. But for now, it gives you a place to belong, a meaningful purpose, and comrades who get the unspoken cowboy rules. The sun peeks over the horizon, bathing the land in golden light. Another day on the trail begins. 2 weeks have passed since crossing the river, 2 dusty, monotonous weeks, broken only by the occasional stray cow or brutal weather. The herd has settled into the trip's rhythm, moving easier each morning, falling asleep to the same old routine each night. The cowboys have found their own rhythm too. Familiar faces around the campfire every evening, aching bodies every morning, endless horizons stretching out ahead. But today, something's different. There's a subtle shift in the vibe of the outfit. Tired shoulders almost straighten up. Steps move a bit faster in the morning. The reason's simple. Abilene is just 2 days away after weeks on the trail. The end is finally in sight. First things first, a bath, Tom declares. Still in the saddle, then maybe a shave and a haircut. Gotta look sharp before hitting the saloon. His usually grim face cracks a rare smile at the thought. Sharp? Huh, Diego snorts. You'll need more than soap and scissors to fit in here, viejo. The men laugh. The chat's lighter than it was weeks ago. Even the trail boss seems less grumpy this morning. His usual frown softens, knowing his job's almost done. The herd's delivered. His men have been paid. You feel it too, that mix of anticipation and relief when a long haul is about to wrap up. Your mind drifts to simple pleasures waiting in town. A real bed with clean sheets, hot food that isn't beans or salted pork, maybe a letter from home at the post office. Little luxuries that feel like treasures after months of scarcity. The day's ride goes on, like any other, but the whole crew moves with a new purpose. The trail boss pushes the pace, knowing the sooner they reach Abilene, the sooner the cattle get sold and the paychecks handed out. No one complains about the speed. Every mile covered today means getting to town earlier. By evening, the scenery grows prettier. Subtle signs showing civilization nearby. Farms appear off in the distance. fenced fields replace the open prairie. Wagon wheel tracks cross the trail more often, and when a proper road joins your path, its surface hardens from regular traffic. That night, around the campfire, talk is almost all about the town, ahead and its delights. For some young cowboys, this will be their first time in Abilene, and the veterans spin tales, some true, some tall, all designed to pump up the excitement. One old-timer swears Long Branch. Saloon's bar stretches 50 feet long, and the girls way prettier than Sunrise. Of course, they'll drain every dime you've earned if you let them. Another chimes in. Don't forget, Bullock Hotel. Best steaks and potatoes west of Chicago, worth every penny. You listen, layering their stories with your own memories from past visits, while doing the mental math on how far your paycheck will stretch. $35 for a month's work sounds like a lot, until you factor in prices at a cattle town during peak season. A decent meal costs $1. Bathing, shaving, and haircuts tack on another $1. A new shirt runs $2 a night. At a halfway decent hotel is $1.50, and that's before drinks, gambling, and other entertainments. That peak season, a decent meal costs $1. Shower, shave, and haircut another $1. A new shirt goes for $2 a night. At a decent hotel is $1.50, not to mention drinks, gambling, and other distractions that drain the cowboy's hard-earned cash. Still, after weeks without spending, even a few days of relative luxury feels worth it. Plus, there's always the trip back south and the chance to work on a ranch during winter. A careful cowboy won't blow all his cash in one town. Morning brings clear skies and a fresh start, a surge of excitement. Just one more day until the outskirts of Abilene. The cattle are moving well. Maybe sensing the upcoming change in routine, or reacting to the cowboy's livelier herding style. By noon, you might spot smoke on the horizon, the coal-fired locomotives at Abilene Railhead, your destination after weeks of travel. The trail boss calls for an early stop, wanting the cattle to rest up for the final push into town tomorrow. He explains they need to look their best for the buyers, and honestly, I want you fresh too. No screw-ups tomorrow. We're way too close for mistakes now. That night, few men sleep well despite exhaustion. Anticipation makes them toss and turn, their minds racing with thoughts of the city. Sleep doesn't come easy. You find yourself staring at the stars, thinking up a dozen ways to spend your pay before finally dozing off into a light, dreamy sleep. Dawn brings an energy unlike any other morning on the trail. The men wake before Cookie calls the first roll, packing up and saddling horses in record time. Even the cattle seem to catch the vibe, rising and gathering unusually cooperatively. The supply wagons get loaded one last time. Cookie mutters about restocking. Goods in town. The trail boss collects gear for final instructions before moving out. We'll go slow and steady into town. He stresses, keep the herd tight. No scaring them with new sights and sounds. Diego, Manuel, Tom, you're leading. You've done this before. The rest. Stay sharp and steady. He pauses, looking at the men gathered with almost affectionate eyes. You've done well. At this, now finish it strong. This outfit gives you purpose, pushing past fatigue and discomfort. The cattle move gently along the trail, guided by cowboys who've mastered every little cattle quirk over weeks of drifting. By mid-morning, the outskirts of Abilene come into view. Scattered buildings give way to denser architecture. The unmistakable shapes of cattle pens stand out against the skyline. The sounds and smells of town hit your senses before you even spot the details. Distant train whistles, thick coal smoke, cooking aromas, and crowds gathering all around after weeks on the open plains where only wind, cattle, and occasional voices filled the air. The town feels almost overwhelming. As you get closer, the real nature of Abilene reveals itself. It's a town built solely to be the crossroads for southern cattle herds and the eastbound railroad. Everything revolves around this function, from vast cattle pens holding livestock for shipment to businesses catering to cash-ready cowboys. The main street offers a peculiar mix of frontier practicality and tested sophistication. Fancy saloon facades sit next to handy general stores. Hotels ranging from cheap to classy provide lodging for cattle buyers, cowboys, and other travelers. Restaurants, barbershops, bathhouses, and other specialized spots compete for attention and cash. But for now, you've got to keep your focus on the herd. The path to the cattle pens demands full concentration from every cowboy and steer. The strange surroundings make everyone uneasy. You've got to handle it firmly but carefully, too. Avoid last-minute disasters. The town's noise and bustle create endless chances. From rough to fancy, all offer lodging for cattle buyers, cowboys, and other travelers. Restaurants, barbershops, baths, and specialty services compete for attention and money. But right now, you still have to focus on the herd. The trail to the grazing grounds demands laser focus from me. Every cowboy and cattle, all on edge in unfamiliar territory. Handling them firm but careful is the name of the game. Avoiding last-minute disasters. The town's noise and hustle create endless opportunities to spook the herd. Horse-drawn wagons clatter by. Steam train whistles blow. Strangers wander. Through your line of sight, the trail boss rides ahead to confirm deals with the ranch manager, while the crew keeps the cattle moving steadily forward. Years of experience guide this final push, knowing when to push, when to hold back, and how to communicate with subtle signals to coordinate the whole gang's moves. Finally, the ranch gate appears. Big corrals ready to house the herd, connecting to shipping pens where the cattle will board trains headed east. This place looks nothing like the wide-open prairie where these longhorns were grazing just months ago in Texas. With practiced skill, the crew will herd the cattle through the gate and into their assigned pen. The cowboys position themselves strategically, making sure the herd stays on track and doesn't bunch up too tight at the entrance. It's hot, dusty work, but the finish line is right there. giving tired bodies a fresh boost. When the last cow passes through the gate, a distinct sense of accomplishment spreads through the outfit. Weeks of tough, risky, watchful days peak at this moment, successfully delivering 2,000 head of cattle to their destination. The trail boss shakes hands with the ranch manager, papers change hands, and the job's done. The cattle will be counted, checked, and finally loaded onto the train. But that's no longer your problem. Your responsibility ends the moment the last bull steps into the pen. For the first time in over a month, you've got no immediate tasks, no cattle to watch, no schedule to keep. The trail boss rounds up the outfit one last time outside the ranch office. "Good job, boys," he says, his usual gruff voice softening with genuine appreciation. "Get your horses ready at the rental stable, then hit the bank 2 hours later for your pay." This is a familiar routine for most men. The first stable is where the workhorses get care, while their riders enjoy the town. Some cowboys will sell their horses if they don't plan to ride south, using the cash to extend their stay in town, or cover train or wagon fare to the next stop. You decide to keep your horse. He's proven his worth too many times, and good horses are worth their weight in gold. The stable's busy with new arrivals, but you find a spot and make sure your horse gets proper care, good feed, clean water, a thorough brush to dust off the trail grime. Only when you're happy with his setup do you start thinking about your own needs. The contrast between the wide open trail and the cramped town space is jarring. Buildings block the horizon in every direction, creating a weird sense of being boxed in after weeks of unlimited views. The streets are packed with people, wagons, and horses, creating a chaotic noise that makes your ears ring. Many different smells, some pleasant, some not so much, compete for attention after the relatively clean air of the prairie and cattle. Your top priority is practical booking a room for your stay. Better hotels fill up fast during cattle season, but you manage to snag a spot at a modest place called the Westerner. The room's small but clean, with a real bed instead of a straw mattress on the floor. After weeks sleeping on the ground, it feels like pure luxury. Next up is the ritual. Every cowboy craves a bath. The town bathhouse still runs during cattle season, offering hot water, soap, and privacy to guys who haven't been cleaned in weeks. You pay 25 cents and gratefully soak in the steamy tub, feeling the trail dust and grime melt away. The hot water soothes aching muscles that had almost forgotten what relaxation and cleanliness felt like. You visit the barber shop next door. The barber just looks at your wild hair and unruly beard, then gets to work without a word. He's seen countless cowboys in your sorry state. Half an hour later, you show up looking way more polished, smooth face, hair neatly trimmed under a dust-free new hat. A fresh, mercantile shirt finishes your makeover from dusty cowboy to a pretty sharp town visitor. The crisp cotton feels weird on skin used to rough, sweat-soaked fabric, but hey, that coolness is worth every penny. By the time you hit the parlor, most outfits are assembled and looking very different after similar fixes. The men who lived in dirt and sweat for weeks now stand there with fresh hair and clothes, the only signs left of their dusty job, sun-baked skin, calloused hands, and that classic cowboy limp from years in the saddle. The trail boss handles the paperwork inside, then steps out with a stack of cash. He calls up each cowboy, counting out the agreed wages, plus any bonus earned on special missions. When your name's called, you step forward and grab your pay, $35 for the month's work, plus 5 extra for your river landing and checkpoint duties. Not a fortune, but holding that money feels like a real reward after weeks of hard work and risk. With cash in your pocket and no immediate responsibilities. The town spreads out before you like a book full of possibilities. The outfit quickly comes off, and everyone chases their own pleasures. Some head straight to the saloon, thirsty for whiskey and buddies after a long, lonely ride. Others check in at the post office to send word home or pick up mail. A few cautious types hit the bank first to stash some cash for future needs. You decide food trumps all. Beans and tough beef just won't cut it anymore. The Prairie Rose restaurant serves up an irresistible cattleman's special, a thick beef steak, buttery potatoes, fresh bread, apple pie, and coffee, all for just 75 cents. After weeks of sampling limited cracker menus, this flavor overload feels like a civilized dream come true. Every bite reminds you of the finer pleasures you've been missing. Stuffed for the first time in forever, you step back onto the bustling street, the sun's dipping low over the western horizon, and Abilene is waking up. Saloons fill with cowboys in all kinds of gear, laughter bouncing around, and their sometimes too loud voices spilling onto the sidewalks. Piano music drifts from open doors, mixing with chatter, clinking glasses, and boots on wooden floors. You find yourself drawn to the long saloon where some of your crew has gathered, inside, shady after the blazing sun, the air thick with tobacco smoke and whiskey. A long bar stretches along one wall, just like the old man said, though maybe not a full 50 feet. Card tables scatter around, while women in flashy dresses weave between customers, offering drinks and friendly chats at steep prices. Diego waves you over to a table where he's sitting with Manuel and 2 others from your group. A half-empty whiskey bottle sits center stage, surrounded by glasses. There he is, Diego calls, the man of the hour, our race leader. The others raise their glasses in a fake toast, and you catch yourself grinning wide, even though you're trying not to draw too much attention. Sit down, drink up, Manuel says, pushing an empty glass your way. We were just reminiscing about the river crossing, how you rode that horse through the water, magnifico. You grab the glass and pour a full one from the bottle. The whiskey slides down smooth. After weeks of just coffee, the booze hits fast, warming and relaxing muscles still stiff from the ride. The conversation flows easy among men who've shared hardships and victories, their bond stronger than any. His horse through that stream, magnifico. You take the whiskey glass and pour a full one from the bottle. The whiskey slides down, smooth and pleasant. After weeks of just coffee, the booze hits fast, warming you up and loosening muscles still tight from the ride. The conversation flows easy between men who've been through hell and back together. Those shared trials forge bonds stronger than circumstances. As night falls, the saloon fills and gets rowdier. Cowboys in all sorts of outfits eye each other with varying degrees of friendliness or suspicion. Old grudges and turf wars simmer beneath polite facades. Town cops patrol regularly, badges catching the light. Their presence a reminder that Abilene at least tries to keep up the illusion of law and order. You notice that, despite the obvious chaos, some unspoken rules still hold. Cowboys can drink a lot and talk, but most keep their pistols holstered and hold back on serious fights. The troublemakers get quickly escorted out by the patrol, sometimes to jail, depending on how much they screwed up. Contrary to popular novels, early frontier towns knew that unchecked violence was bad for business. The evening drifts by with plenty of drinks, tall tales, and finally a poker game you reluctantly join. Poker's a cowboy favorite, but you've seen too many guys lose their entire season's paycheck in one bad hand or poor judgment. You set a limit for yourself, $5, no more, and you stick to it, even though a winning hand now and then tempts you to dive deeper into the game. By midnight, all the hard work, today's excitement, and a few whiskeys combine into pure exhaustion. You say goodnight to your companions, some of whom seem ready to party until dawn, and head back to the Western Hotel, the cool night air after, the stuffy saloon, the relative quiet of the side streets, a break from the endless noise. Your room awaits, the bed all ready, made up by the hotel staff. After weeks sleeping on the floor, fully dressed, kicking off your boots and shirt before hitting the sheets feels like pure luxury. The mattress sinks under your weight, molding to your body in a way the hard ground never did. But strangely, sleep doesn't come right away. The bed's too soft, the room too stuffy after so many clear nights on the trail. The low hum of the town, a distant piano, occasional shouts or laughter, the sound of a night wagon rolling by an unfamiliar scene. For ears used to cattle calls and prairie winds, you find yourself thinking about starry nights and sunrises over endless grasslands. No matter the hardships, that life was simple, with a clear purpose missing in town life. Here, everything's a transaction and a fake smile. The pleasures are bought, not earned, temporary, often selfish relationships. Tomorrow promises more of the same. Saloons and poker games. Maybe a play or other distractions Abilene offers to keep cowboys' hands off their wallets. For some, the town's charming ladies will drain every penny they earned, leaving them broke and job hunting after cattle season ends. Others hold on to their paychecks, spending only on essentials and modest treats while saving for the future. Your plan is still up in the air. You could sign up for the journey back south in the same clothes, try winter work on a farm, or maybe something totally different. The frontier offers chances for those willing to work hard and take risks, but decisions like that can wait until tomorrow. For now, you just enjoy the unusual comfort of the bed, the slow unwinding of your trail-worn muscles, and the fact that at least for a few days, you can relax. No cattle to watch, no schedule to keep, no dangers to watch out for. Your eyelids grow heavy as your body finally crashes. The last thing you hear before sleep takes you is a distant train whistle, probably hauling the very cattle you helped north, now headed for markets and dinner tables out east. There's a quiet satisfaction in that thought, knowing the hardships and dangers of the trail served a purpose beyond mere survival. Finally, sleep comes deep, dreamless, the well-deserved rest of a job done. Morning in Abilene arrives with strange sounds, people moving down hallways, wagon wheels on streets, a distant train whistle echoing. For a moment, you lie still on hallway. Wheels of wagons rumble down the street. A distant train whistle echoes. For a moment, you lie still on an unusually soft bed. Your mind tries to blend these sounds with the familiar dawn chorus of cattle and neighing horses that woke you for weeks on the trail. Your body feels different, too cleaner, less raw pain right now, but still carrying deep aches, more from accumulated exhaustion than yesterday's effort. The mattress cradles you in a way both soft and strange after so many nights on hard ground. Part of you wants to sink back into this rare luxury, pull the covers over your head, and sleep till noon just because you can. But old trail habits die hard. No schedule, no cattle to tend, yet your body stubbornly wakes with the sun. You swing your feet over the bed's edge, toes hitting the wooden floor solid and unmoving. Unlike the dirt you're used to, life in town demands small adjustments from a man used to the trail. You pull on a fresh shirt and newly brushed pants. Your boots still show yesterday's wear, even after a good cleaning. Cowboy life leaves its marks on your gear just like it stamps itself on your skin. Those permanent wrinkles, weathered surfaces, repairs born of necessity, not style. The hotel dining room serves breakfast for 50-cent eggs, bacon, biscuits with gravy, and coffee. After weeks of beans and hard bread, this feels like a royal feast, though the eggs are a little overcooked and the coffee weaker than trail brew. You eat slowly, savoring the novelty of sitting at a proper table, using real plates and metal cutlery instead of that old busted lunch pail from the trail. Other diners fill the room, a mix of cowboys in all sorts of outfits, cattle buyers in city clothes, peddlers, and the occasional local businessman. The chatter creates a pleasant buzz, softened by the clinking of silverware and occasional bursts of laughter. It's a civilized sound, worlds apart from the trail's noise wind. Animals, men's voices blending with open space. No time wasted. You step out onto Abilene's main street, already buzzing. Despite the early hour, businesses are opening, wagons hauling goods, townsfolk settling into their daily grind. The cattle season shakes up these frontier towns, bringing cash and activity to help them survive the quiet winter months. You mull over your options for the day, most of your crew likely still nursing last night's whiskey hangover, but eventually they'll show up, drawn by saloons and other distractions. Part of you wants in on the camaraderie and shopping spree, fun that makes a cowboy's town visit memorable, but something holds you back, a feeling there's more to see, more to experience than the predictable cycle of saloons and card games. With cash in your pocket and time on your hands, you've got choices you didn't have on the trail. The town market grabs your attention first. Display windows show goods unavailable on the isolated farm life. Inside, shelves packed with canned food, fabrics, tools, medicines, and luxuries from the East create a showcase of civilized living. You wander aimlessly, enjoying the simple novelty of choice after weeks of relying on whatever the cattle wagon brought. Finally, you pick up some practical stuff: tobacco, a new neckerchief, thick socks, bullets for your revolver, small but vital things for a working cowboy. The shopkeeper wraps them carefully in brown paper, ties the bundle tight with string. Deal done. You step back onto the wooden sidewalk, modest haul tucked under your arm. The post office is your next stop. Like many cowboys, you don't keep in touch with family often. For you, that means your mom and little sister back in Missouri. Mail moves slow on the frontier, sometimes taking weeks or months to arrive. But it's a fragile link, too, and luxury goods from the East create a little display of civilization's finest. You wander aimlessly, enjoying the simple novelty of choice after weeks with nothing but what the cattle wagon brought. Finally, you buy a few practical things: cigarettes, a new bandana, thick socks, bullets for your revolver, small but vital for a working cowboy. The shopkeeper wraps them carefully in brown paper, tying the bundle tight with string. The deal's done. You step back onto the wooden sidewalk, your modest haul tucked under your arm. The post office is your next stop. Like many cowboys, you don't keep in touch much with the folks back home. In your case, that's mom and your little sister in Missouri. Mail moves slow on the frontier, sometimes taking weeks or months to arrive, but it's a fragile lifeline too. The outside world beyond cattle and dusty trails. Sure enough, there's a letter waiting for you, mom's careful handwriting on the envelope, the paper worn and torn from the long trip. You take it to a quiet corner in the town's small park. Sit down on a bench under a cottonwood tree to read in private. Mom's words bring news from home. Your sister's schooling, changes in the little farming community where you grew up. Gentle questions about your health and plans. Between the lines, you can read her stubborn hope that one day you'll come back, even though she knows better than to ask outright. That small farming community where you grew up. Gentle questions about your health and your plans. Between the lines, you can catch her stubborn hope that one day you'll come back, though she knows better than to ask straight up. The letter stirs up messy feelings. There's love for a family you hardly see, nostalgia for the simple life you left behind, but also the cold truth that you'll never really return for good. The ties of farm life, The steady rhythm of planting and harvesting, the cramped little community spaces, all of it would feel like a prison after years of freedom roaming the open plains. You fold the letter carefully and tuck it away. It's a routine countless cowboys repeat, keeping ties to homes they rarely visit, if ever. A long day stretches ahead, full of small pleasures and observations you just can't get on the trail. You watch a train pull into the station, sending off passengers from the east. Some are clearly traders here to haggle over cattle. Others look like settlers heading west, facing the light with a mix of hope and worry. The locomotive itself fascinates you, an industrial marvel, a power totally unlike the beasts that keep the grasslands alive. Next, you head to the gunsmith to clean and inspect your revolver, a practical move for a gun that might one day stand between you and death. The gunsmith works efficiently, dismantling, cleaning, and reassembling the piece with care and respect. To him, it's a tool, but also something more a mechanical work of art, worthy of admiration. He notices wear on the grip and the holster around the barrel. About 5 years, he estimates. Never let me down. He nods approvingly. Keep it clean and it'll serve you another 5 years. He hands it back, smooth as silk after his tender care. Little interactions like this mark the day. Brief connections with skilled folks keep a frontier town ticking. The saddle maker chats about possible repairs to your gear. The shoemaker measures for a custom pair you can't quite afford yet, but might save up for. The bookseller, surprised you're browsing his limited stock, happily discusses his collection. These chats reveal what's often forgotten in Wild West tales. Cowboys come from all walks of life and levels of education. Some, like you, read and write pretty well. Others are veterans, merchants, or sons of privilege chasing adventure. A few are fugitives or have messy pasts. All find some equality in cowboy life, where a man is judged by skill and reliability, not background. By late afternoon, you find yourself pulled back to the saloons where your crew might be hanging out. Sure enough, with a few familiar faces are at a table or leaning on the bar swapping stories with cowboys from other trips. The mood is calmer than last night. The men stroll easy, trying to stay in town longer, sipping beer instead of downing whiskey. Diego waves you over to a table where he sits with Tom and some folks from another group. There he is, Diego calls. I was starting to think you'd been behaving yourself with us. You take an empty chair and grab a beer someone slides your way, just people watching. You explain. Turns out this town ain't just saloons. Tom snorts. Ain't worth the time without whiskey, women, or cards. But his tone lacks real conviction, just the usual tough cowboy front, hiding more complicated truths. The conversation flows easily among men who know each other's lives, sharing stories and future plans. You know most of your group will head south in about a week. The trail boss has signed back on with the supply wagon and Raruda. Some will go, drawn by promises of steady work. Others, like Tom, plan to stay in Wyoming through winter, having arranged farm jobs until spring. What about you, Diego asks, coming back with us? Until spring? What about you, Diego asks, coming back to us? He hesitates. realizing he hasn't made up his mind yet. The familiar trail still holds its own pull. At least he knows what he'll be up against, no matter how tough it gets. But something inside him craves a change, maybe another challenge, or just a new patch of land. He admits he's undecided. Maybe head a bit west, see if anyone's hiring in Colorado or Montana. The others nod, understanding the restless itch that makes many cowboys keep moving between crews and territories. Few expect to settle down or stick with one crew forever. Life's all about chasing opportunities and trends across the vast frontier. As evening falls, the saloon gets crowded and noisy. New crews have rolled into town, their pockets bursting with fresh paychecks and itching to unwind after weeks of dry spells. The piano player shows up, pounding out popular tunes that soon have the men singing along in various off-key styles. The women in bright dresses weave through the crowd, offering drinks and affordable company. You sip your beer, feeling a bit detached from the growing party buzz. Last night's excitement has faded, replaced by a pensive mood. Maybe it's a letter from home, or just the natural calm after a long trip. But you find yourself watching more than joining the saloon's antics. A ruckus near the bar grabs everyone's attention. Two cowboys from different groups, faces flushed from booze, voices rising in disagreement. The issue's unclear, but the scene's familiar. Before things escalate, the town sheriff appears like magic, and just his presence shifts the room's energy. Step outside or cool it, he says, simply, one hand casually near his holstered gun, his gaze sharp as flint beneath his hat, carrying the serious weight behind his gentle ultimatum. The cowboys stare at each other a moment, then mutter thanks and split up, moving to opposite sides of the room. Crisis averted. The sheriff nods to the bartender and gets back to work. This nightly drama plays out in cattle towns beyond the border. Underlying violence kept in check by the thin veneer of law enforcement. Contrary to the romantic legends later spread across the Wild West, most cowboys dodged serious trouble in town. Their job demanded cooperation, clear heads, and respect for frontier realities. Those who couldn't control their tempers or follow basic rules rarely lasted long in the trade. The legendary gunslingers of later novels had little in common with these practical cattle hands from Texas northward. As night falls, you feel ready for some quiet. Say goodbye to friends. Step out onto the wooden sidewalk and breathe the cool night air with relief after the saloon's smoky suffocation. Stars twinkle high above, partly obscured by town lights, but still visible, a reminder of the vast wilderness just beyond these streets and buildings. You slowly head back to the hotel, weighing your options for the coming days. The money in your pocket buys temporary freedom, but it won't last forever. Soon enough, you'll have to make a choice, commit to a path, and secure work for the next season. But for now, having options is a rare luxury, not immediately tied down by the demands of ranchers or trail bosses. Your room welcomes you with simple comforts: a neatly made bed, a clean water painting above the washstand, a small lamp casting warm light in. The approaching darkness. You kick off your boots and outerwear, performing those near impossible trail showers. The soap smells faintly of whiskey instead of the usual harsh carbon scent of bathhouses. And the water's cool, not hot. But the simple act of washing your face and hands before bed somehow feels civilized in a way that still surprises you. The bed gratefully embraces your tired body, the mattress somehow less, annoyingly soft than the night before. Maybe you're getting used to town comforts, your body forgetting. The hard ground faster than expected. You turn off the light and lie in the dark. Listening to Abilene's Quiet Night sounds distant piano, occasional voices or laughter, the clatter of horse-drawn wagons or passing footsteps on the street. The streets below, sleep creeps in. Your mind floods with all sorts of ways to quickly drop into unconsciousness. Images and memories drift by endless prairie horizons. The nighttime sounds of cattle settled down. The brotherhood of men around a campfire after a long day of horse riding. Despite all the hardships and dangers, trail life has a purity that town life just can't match. A direct connection to the raw realities of earth and sky, animals and humans. Reality's civilization buries under its comforts and complexities. Still, you can't deny the lure of those comforts, themselves clean sheets beneath you. The promise of steady meals, not limited to beans and salted pork. The simple luxury of a closed door guaranteeing privacy. The hard-working cowboy lives caught between these worlds, riding out the brutal hardships of frontier life and the civilized pleasures in a cycle ruled by the seasonal rhythm of cattle ranching. Days pass in a familiar pattern. Mornings for exploring and chores, afternoons and evenings for the crew and the other cowboys. In town, you write letters home, tucking in your $10 wages with promises of more to come. You buy a few essentials and a small poetry book that fits right in your saddlebag. Something to read on long evenings ahead, wherever they find you. Gradually, the town's mood shifts as the cowboys start saying their goodbyes. Some head south with the outfit, others to farms for winter work. A few catch buses or trains to farther places. Saloons quiet down, streets empty out. Abilene slowly returns to its usual pace after the wild rush of cattle season. A week after you arrive, you'll make a choice. Instead of heading south with Diego and the others, you'll turn northwest, chasing rumors of good winter work on a big Wyoming ranch. This place is known for treating hands fairly and giving a chance to learn more about ranching beyond just trail riding skills. The night before departure, the remaining friends gather for a farewell dinner at the Prairie Rose restaurant. It's a simple meal, but it feels important. These men have faced dangers and hardships together, forging bonds way deeper than ordinary friendship. Tomorrow, your paths split, likely never crossing again across the vast frontier. To the best driver I ever worked with. Tom raises a coffee cup instead of whiskey. The others join in, making you blush at compliments cowboys rarely dish out directly. At moments like this, with parting near, usual, reserve loosens enough to admit the respect earned after weeks of working side by side. Morning is for last preparations, settling hotel bills, packing gear, and fetching horses from the stable. The horse seems eager to move, maybe sensing your readiness to leave town. You stow blankets and other gear behind the saddle. One last gear check before slipping into your familiar leather jacket. Abilene slowly fades behind you as you head northwest, following the trail that will eventually link to paths leading into Wyoming. The noise and chaos of town give way to the simpler sounds of hoofbeats, wind through the grass, and occasional birdsong. Your shoulders relax. You breathe deeper as the wide open countryside welcomes you back. The journey will take weeks, stopping at smaller settlements along the way, maybe picking up extra work to earn some cash. Winter will arrive before you reach your destination, bringing snow and bone-chilling cold that a Texas-raised cowboy isn't exactly used to. But challenges like these are part of the life you chose, a life on the move and adapting, a life testing your skills against the weather, a free life earned through hardship. As you ride, your thoughts drift westward through a changing landscape. The big herds are starting to decline, threatened by railroads expanding, farms pushing in with barbed wire fences, and slowly, the open grasslands started shutting down. The era of cowboys you thought you knew, the wild men herding massive cattle herds across unfenced prairies, was probably only about a decade away from being wiped out by progress and so-called civilization. That transformation would change everything beyond recognition. There's a certain sadness in knowing this, like you're witnessing history slipping away. Future generations will romanticize cowboys, turning tough, dangerous work into pure adventure, a place where heroes never get hurt or disagree, where cattle never die thirsty or scatter in midnight storms, and the daily dust and discomfort magically turn into shootouts and romance. But even knowing all that, you wouldn't trade your own experience for anything, living that life, however brief in the grand scope of history, riding at dawn with 2,000 longhorns stretching out before you, feeling the perfect harmony between horse and rider as you ford a tough river, sharing coffee and smokes with men whose worth was measured by skill and trust, not cash or pedigree. These are the privileges few will know once machines and cities take over. The sun hits its peak and starts sinking west as you keep riding. The landscape unfolds. Rolling grasslands give way to more varied terrain. Hills rise far off against a deep blue sky. Your horse keeps a steady pace, saving energy for the long haul ahead. No rush now, no pushing, just the natural rhythm of daylight and darkness, hunger and rest. By late afternoon, you start looking for a good camp spot, somewhere with water and grass for your horse, maybe a little shelter from the wind. An experienced eye spots things town folks would miss, a slight dip to block prevailing winds, Special shades of green hinting at a creek or underground spring nearby. Tree arrangements that offer both firewood and security. You set up camp efficiently, unsaddle the horse, and let it graze along a long fence. Gather firewood for a small fire. Prep a simple meal to keep you full till morning. As night falls, you spread your blanket on the ground. Use the saddle for a pillow, just like when herding cattle. The stars explode across the sky in mind-blowing numbers. No city lights or buildings blocking the view. These stars guided cowboys across endless prairies in the early days of big cattle herds. The fire burns low, glowing embers just bright enough to see as you tuck in. Night air carries a chill, signaling the changing season. Somewhere far off, a lone prairie wolf howls, its solitary cry echoing over the empty land. Your horse shifts slightly at the sound, then goes back to grazing. Unfazed by this familiar presence or the night itself, lying under that vast starry sky, you feel a deep connection to the land and its rhythms, a nod to the generations of men who built lives in this harsh yet beautiful country. Cowboys, vaqueros, natives all tied to this land in ways that permanent settlements and civilization never quite get. There's truth in that bond, a raw honesty when facing the elements head on, knowing survival depends on skill, judgment, and sometimes it's just plain luck. Sleep comes easy, your body relaxing in the familiar embrace of earth beneath and sky above. Tomorrow will bring more rides, more decisions, more challenges, both expected and not. Wyoming ranch life might be everything you dreamed, or just a pit stop in a restless life. This harsh but beautiful land, cowboys, vaqueros, natives all tied to this place in ways permanent settlements and civilizations could never fully get, and there's truth in that bond, a raw honesty when you're staring down the elements, knowing survival depends on skill, judgment, and sometimes just dumb luck. Sleep comes easy, your body relaxing in the familiar embrace of earth below and sky above. Tomorrow brings more rides, more decisions, more challenges, both expected and curveballs. The Wyoming farm might be everything you hoped for, or just a pit stop in a life that's always on the move. Either way, you'll face it with the calm and adaptability that define a true cowboy, not some heroic figure from tall tales, but a hard-working cattle wrangler, enduring hardships and shaping the expansion of a nation across the continent. Your breath deepens, muscles loosen. After a day on the bike, your last conscious thought before sleep is gratitude for the wide-open countryside, stretching out in every direction, for the skills earned through years of hard work, for the freedom to pick your own path, no matter how uncertain it might be, in a fast-changing world where railroads, telegraph wires, and barbed wire fences are reshaping the West. You've touched something real and raw that future generations will only know from stories and pictures as you slip into dreams. The true cowboy life surrounds you, not the romanticized myth later on, but the real deal sun and wind, dust and danger, friendship and loneliness. It's a tough life, but an honest one, demanding everything without promising much beyond the satisfaction of meeting those demands with skill and guts. And maybe that's enough to live fully in your time and place, to master the specific challenges of the job you chose, to witness landscapes and sunrises city folks can barely imagine. The cowboy era is slowly fading into history, but its spirit, the practical idealism of self-reliance, adaptability, and quiet competence will stick around, deep in the American character long after the last great herds vanish from the plains. The fire burns down to embers, stars roll overhead, and sleep wraps around you completely. Tomorrow's another day on the trail, another step in a journey with no fixed destination. Now there's only the perfect stillness of night. On the open prairie, the distant call of wolves and the peaceful rhythm of rest feel just right.